Well, it looks like we have another week to wait, at least. I'm guessing it's going to be longer than that. And the frustrating part for me, of all of this is we seem to be, as a nation, accepting a very fundamental thought or idea that is completely antithetical to what our Constitution was all about. And that is the notion that the Supreme Court is supposed to make laws for us. The reason this whole appointment issue is so animated is because of abortion. That's it. If it were not for that issue, if Brett Kavanaugh liked abortion, everybody on the left would be silent right now. People on the right might not be, but people on the left would be silent, which is exactly what should not be happening when it comes to a judicial appointment. We seem to be forgetting that it is Congress that makes laws, not the courts. The role of the court, after laws are made, is to establish, if necessary, the constitutionality of a law. So when a law is enacted and it applies to our nation, and someone sees something that violates our Constitution, then it has to go to the court. Someone has to say, well, here's what the Constitution says, here's what the law says, and these 3 lines over here, and this 1 line down here, that needs to go because according to the Constitution, it's illegal. You can't do that. That's the role of the court, not to decide if abortion is legal or not. Congress needs to get their ass together and write a law about abortion. What will be legal when it comes to abortion? And until they do that, for any issue, it could be gun rights. I mean, every generation might have new issues. The courts will remain basically a hostage to the political process. We need to stop that. So first, we all need to recognize the structure of the 3 branches of government. And right now, we're kind of seeding the notion that judicial activism is okay. So what we're going to do is have Republican presidents nominate conservatives, Democrat presidents will nominate Democrats, and every time there's going to be a conflict. Every time. We are guaranteeing conflict. So we need to step away from that. Now I'm going to offer some suggestions that range from, well, all of them are difficult. I was going to say range from easy to difficult, but they'll all be difficult in our current mindset. But I'm trying to approach this from the philosophy I use in my book, Make It So, in terms of our future counterparts. How would they take a look at what's going on and then try to come up with a logical solution to get back to where we need to get? And the first thing I would say is when I listened to Dr. Ford's testimony, she made a very interesting comment as she talked about when she first recognized Brett Kavanaugh was being nominated, she wanted to tell someone. And I think she even mentioned the Trump administration. I'm not positive, but I think she did. And she said, I just did not know how to access this or get this information or access the government to get this information to them. So I decided to go to my congressperson. Very reasonable. But that's the first mistake. We don't have a system for people to lodge complaints that's outside of the political world. As soon as Dr. Ford went to a Democratic congressperson, it became a political issue. It just became a political issue. So the first suggestion I have is we need to create a mechanism, some kind of an agency mechanism, to which anyone who has any complaint about any judicial nominee can go to, so they know how to contact the government. How do you tell someone in the government without going to your congressperson? Right now, that's the most logical step. But as soon as that happens, it's a mistake, because whoever that congressperson is, it will become political. Period. So we create this agency, and I'm going to just refer to it as a reporting agency. I don't know what the name would be, but we have a reporting agency that everyone in the country is advised to go to. So then in the future, someone like Dr. Ford, who says, well, this nominee, he assaulted me, I need to make that known. They may go to their congressperson, but the congressperson by law would be precluded from doing anything except saying, here's who you call. Here's who you contact. I can't talk to you about that. That has to go through this agency, period. No politics. Sorry, that's my glasses. No politics. That agency then is charged to follow through on any accusation. First, to establish the credibility, to interview any and all witnesses. I mean, to basically investigate the accusation. So that's the first step. Is let's have a reporting mechanism for the American people to go to, so they can get these complaints to the right people without going through a political party. Because once you do that, it's a problem. Secondly, and I know a lot of people are going to say, especially those who support anger in the Senate, it should be either, and I don't know if this needs to be done constitutionally or it can happen inside the Senate, but it needs to be established that any accusation against any nominee, and please, for those who are thinking in terms of Kavanaugh, it's not about Kavanaugh. It is about a person being nominated to the court to become a judge in whether it's an appellate court, a circuit court, whatever. To anyone who's being nominated to the courts, all accusations go through this reporting agency. And during the confirmation process, not one senator is allowed to talk to that candidate about that accusation until the agency's investigation is concluded and the findings are made. And let me rephrase that. Even after then, they can't talk to that person about those charges. They take the findings from the agency. They are all allowed to read them. They are all allowed privately to share their thoughts if they so desire. But in the Judicial Committee hearing room, they cannot talk about those charges. That is a legal process, not an interview, job interview. Now, when they look at the findings and they say, oh my gosh, according to this, it looks like he did it, they can use that to influence their decision, to help shape their decision on whether to say, yes, let's take it to the floor, or let's not take it to the floor. But they can't talk about it, because it becomes political at that point. It is a legal process, and we need to keep it contained within the legal system, not the political system. And as many people will probably let, well, you know what, the Senate, that's a legal system. They are all politicians first. They are all about politics. All the things you hear, these wonderful things you hear, and of course they're only wonderful if you like who they are and what they're talking about, is all bullshit. According to the law, according to our system. We should not allow politics to decide who is qualified to sit on the bench. What they should be talking to the candidate about is their prior decisions, perhaps their formal training, their experience in the courts. Those things are what is talked about. The only decision, and I can't remember who it was, there was a senator that came out early on in this process that made a very powerful speech, for me at least it was, where he said, the purpose of the hearing is for the Senate to decide, can this candidate remove himself from his political background or politics and make decisions based off the Constitution? Can he do that objectively, or as objective as any human can? That's all it's supposed to be about. It's not supposed, did you do this? That's the legal process. Let the legal process be separate from the hearing process. So they can take the findings from the reporting agency, and if the findings say, oh, no collaboration, they can use that to say, well, I'm going to say he's going. But if the findings say it looks like something else might be happening, and the local police agency is going to be pressing charges or something, well, then obviously I'm not going to vote to move him on. That's the way they're talking about it, just by voting yes or no. Anyway, so that's the second rule. The third one, no one's going to like this, especially today in the divisiveness that we have within our Congress and in the Senate. We need to go back to 60 votes for a judge nomination. We need to go back to that. Out of committee, or on the floor vote, it needs to be 60 again. This nuclear option stuff is not good for the country. It just isn't good for the country. You know, everyone laughed and said, all right, Mr. Reed started this process back in 2000, whenever, 12, 13. And a lot of liberals loved it because Obama started getting pretty much any judge he wanted got approved. Then all of a sudden, guess what? Things changed. Everything stopped. Now the Republicans are excited because they applied that nuclear option to the Supreme Court. So now anyone they nominate will get approved. And it shouldn't be that. It was never designed to be a political appointment. It was designed to be a qualitative appointment. And we've left that. We're no longer there. We need to go back to 60 votes. Now, I recognize that my personal opinion is there is an exceptionally radical element within the Democrat Party today. In fact, I don't even refer to them as Democrats anymore. I call them the New Left. And that needs to be destroyed before we go back to 60 votes. There is no way in our country we should allow a United States senator to stand up and say women have a right to be believed. That is exceptionally dangerous. There is no way in the world we should allow a senator to stand up in front of the world and say, men, shut up. That is exceptionally dangerous. There's no way in the world we should allow a congressperson to say, if you see these people out in the restaurants or at gas stations or in the mall, get in their face. Actually, what Congressman Waters said is, get a crowd and then get in their face. Exceptionally dangerous. That is not protest. That is called harassment. That is not how a civil nation, solves problems. So that element needs to go. And there may be that inside the conservatives. I don't remember what really happened when Sotomayor was and nominated and going through I don't remember any Republicans running out the restaurants and getting in the Democrat senators' faces. I don't remember any of the congressmen asking the people to get in their face or whatever. So I don't know. But if Republicans do that, they need to stop too. This isn't about Republican or Democrat. It's about America. In the world of Star Trek, we embrace individual responsibility before we embrace individual rights. And the responsibility of an individual is not to harass others. That's not their responsibility. As a responsible citizen of the United States of America, you are to participate, get involved, say your piece. But bullying is not part of that. Harassment is not part of that. Intimidation is not part of that. So we need to walk away from that. We need to get away from that part of it. So we need to go back to 60 votes. Those, to me, of the 6 ideas, those 3 are the easiest, and you're probably all saying, well, those will never happen. And they may never. I'm simply saying, from a Star Trek world, this is how they would approach this problem. Removing emotion, removing personal feelings, and trying to state a logic and reason, we should all recognize that the system is broken. If anything, the hearing should tell you the system is broken. We need to fix it. So I'm offering some ideas to fix it. Not the only ideas. I'm not suggesting they're great ideas. But in the world of Star Trek, rather than bitching and bitching and bitching, they actually stop, try to listen to what's going on, see what's going on, and make corrective changes, and then go back and see if it's worked. So this is what they would do. Okay, well, we have a person who said she couldn't get the information reported properly, so she went to it. Well, we probably shouldn't go to a partisan player. We need to have a way for them to go to nonpartisan players to get their information reported. We need to have a way to have the congressman, the Senate, move away from politics when they're talking to a candidate and just focus on qualifications. So these are ideas to do that. Now you can start getting ready to laugh, because here's another suggestion. I think we ought to make it a law that every Republican president and any Republican president can only nominate liberal judges. And every Democrat president can only nominate conservative judges. We've become so political, and now that we're very divisive, the politics are pulling us apart. And as a result, presidents are choosing what may be considered extreme liberal and or conservative judges. That shouldn't be happening. If we force Republicans to appoint liberals, they will try to find the least radical liberals. And the same for a Democrat president. They will try to appoint the least radical conservatives, with the objective being we bring all the courts closer to the middle. We can't have this pushing away. It's killing us. It is killing us. Next, and this one, it's going to sound silly, but I think it's important. What really hurt me is to hear the frustration in Kavanaugh's voice because of the way the media treated what is going on right now in terms of Kavanaugh and and the accusations. To try to avoid that, we should recognize that the only reporting by the media of any accusation, they can report on the hearing, fine, but any accusation against the nominee, the only reporting they can do must come from the agency that is doing the investigation. And it's all got to be transparent. It's got to be published to the press, or published to the public. And all of us got to be able to read what this agency is saying in real time as the press is reporting on it. Outside of that, if they want to do any story, we need to go back. When I was a young guy, when smoking became obviously dangerous to our health, cigarette packs were forced to put a label on the side of them that said, "Warning, smoking can be hazardous to your health. It can cause cancer." It said more than that, I can't remember, but for anyone my age, you'll remember they have these warning labels now and how that happened. We should make it a law for any broadcast, any news coverage, any reporting from print to internet, to cable, to broadcast TV, all and every single publishing of any reporting of the accusation or the investigation or the witnesses or this account or that account, there needs to be a label that's placed kind of watermarked on the screen for the entire broadcast of the story. Warning, this report is bias. Warning, this report is bias. Period. Fox News, MSNBC, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, everybody has any article on an accusation of a nominee. Warning, this report may be bias. Unless they're getting information straight from the reporting agency to which the accusation was originally reported. When they get information over there, they can print it out, but that information will be readily available to every American citizen. The effort is to keep the legal process on an accusation separate from the nomination process on the qualifications of a judge. Until the legal process determines there is guilt, the judge is innocent. And if he's innocent, would we be spreading stories about some possible false accusations? We shouldn't be doing that, but we are. In fact, we're making billions of dollars doing it. And we need to stop that. So I would say a warning label on every broadcast, any reporting of any kind of accusation. And if an accusation has not been reported to the reporting agency, it is to be ignored, period. If the person is not willing to go to the official process, forget it. And that brings us to the last one. And that is kind of specific to this particular case, being Dr. Ford and Mr. Kavanaugh. But any unsubstantiated accusation is completely disconnected from the nomination process. Any unsubstantiated accusation against the nominee is completely disconnected from the nomination process. So what that would mean for this particular case, Kavanaugh and Ford, Ford's accusations would have gone to the reporting agency. They would have interviewed 3 people that she named, and they'd said, well, we have no evidence. She would have talked about a 4th person, her friend, who said, I don't know what she's talking about. They would say, well, there's no specific, there's nothing we can do. This is now, at this point, we're going to classify it as unsubstantiated. Then it's gone. It's just forgotten. All of it belongs, at that point, upon the reporting agency deciding it is unsubstantiated. At that point, whatever happens is up to the accuser. She or he may go to the local law enforcement agency, report the crime. They may hire a private investigator. They can do what they want on their own, but it cannot be entered into any kind of discussion or questioning within the nomination process of a nominee. No one has a right to be believed. Everyone has a right to fairness. Now, many of you out there, if any of you are watching this that happen to hate Kavanaugh and believe Dr. Ford was horribly and sexually attacked, you're saying, yes, full of crap. Recognize what we're getting into right now. Unsubstantiated claims stopping the legal process, the court appointing process in our country. This can happen 10 years from now when you have a very liberal president and a very liberal Senate. Someone can just get up and say, this is what happened. I can't tell you when, can't tell you where, and the people I tell you, I give you as witnesses, they all say it didn't happen, but it happened. That has stopped everything. Those who don't want Kavanaugh, and I'm going to make a generalization here, but I'm guessing a large percent of the people who are against pro-choice, are pro-life, who want abortion, who favor abortion, are against Kavanaugh. And I bet you a larger percent of that group will believe Dr. Ford than the pro-life group. We're letting politics, we're letting agendas, we're letting ideology tell us how to appoint someone to the court. The court is not about making law. The question is, does Judge Kavanaugh have what it takes to become a justice in terms of making decisions lined up with the Constitution? So everything in his record is fair game. Unsubstantiated claims should not be stopping this process. We need to walk away from that. America is an exceptionally dangerous place right now. And I have my opinions about what's going on, and it would not make what I would call a liberal person very happy. But I thought rather than just share my opinion, I'm trying to take it from the standpoint of my book. How would our future counterparts try to approach this? They would try to fix it. I've offered 6 ideas. They may not be great ideas. But what we should be doing as a nation is stepping up and talking about how we're going to fix this whole thing. Because it will not get better on its own. And if we do not do something, I'll guarantee you it will get worse. And you will see fighting. You will see physical conflict inside these committee hearings 20 years from now, 30 years from now. There will be anger. We will allow anger to get so animated that it will turn into violence. That's just my opinion. Okay, I did want to share that I referenced my book a little bit. Here is that book. It is called Make It So, The First Steps Towards a Future Federation Today. It is available at Amazon.com. It is an application of our future counterparts and what reason, logic, and what is called self-actualized citizens would do in our government today or in our society today. Anyway, thanks for listening. Take care.